What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, my name is Shane and this is The Shane Show. Alright guys, in my last video we were hoping to get this dynoed, and as you can see behind me, the car is back here. So long story short, took the car over to dyno comp, and when we rev it up to like 2,000 RPMs or so, there's a little bit of noise coming from the motor, so I'll show you guys that real quick. So when we were revving up the motor, there was a noise coming from like somewhere around this vicinity here. So I went ahead and took this cam cover off while we were over there. Went ahead and made sure everything was tight. Couldn't really figure out where it was coming from. The only thing that we could really think of is that the VCT cam gear was malfunctioning. So definitely wasn't timing belt slap, because it wasn't happening during startup or any other time. Just when we were to rev it up to like 2,000 RPMs and then getting a little higher, it was getting a little noisier. So long story short, so in order to remove the VCT, and I know a lot of RB people are like, why are you going to remove the VCT? Well, I don't really care too much about the low end torque. It's not something I want to focus too much on with this car. New aftermarket cam gears are 4-bolt, and so one of the issues that you have is you can't get an aftermarket cam gear with the OEM cams. So in order to remove the VCT cam gear, you have to get new cams. And so that's exactly what we did, which is why you're here watching this video. All right guys, so I ended up picking up some Kelford cams. These are 272 intake and 272 exhaust. And then here's the rest of the specs on here for those that care or know what it is that I'm looking at. And the cool thing here is there's no cylinder head machining needed. So basically I can just drop in these cams and then put the new cam gear on, we're good to go. And then for the VCT, I'm just gonna go ahead and unplug this and then just leave that solenoid in there and call it a day basically. So hopefully the real reason for this is to get rid of that noise in there if the VCT is failing. I could have gotten another OEM VCT cam gear, but everything's already 25 years old anyway, you know what, and the cams are, so I'm just gonna go ahead and replace the cams. Been wanting to do that for a long time anyway. And so what better time than when you're having problems with the VCT. So today we're gonna rip this thing apart, get the new cams in, and then put it back together and hopefully have a startup for you guys. So let's get right into it. All right, so quick update, got the coolant draining currently, and then I'll show you guys what the VCT cam gear is. So this right here is the VCT cam gear. And then you can see we have the HKS cam gear on the exhaust side. So what happens is this solenoid right here talks to the computer, and then this functions to activate VCT. If you don't know what VCT is, Google it. Basically helps with low end torque and things like that on the motor. So this we feel like is the issue. So you'll see when I take this off how it's connected in there. But basically we have to replace the cams in order to fix this. So we'll go ahead and remove this. We still have a lot of other stuff we got to remove, like the clutch fan and these belts, which is all super quick. Remove the crank pulley and then pull these off. So you guys, this literally is only going to take like an hour to do, to take apart and then put back together. It might take like an hour and a half just to make sure we torque everything correctly, but we feel like this is the issue right here. All right everyone, so we got the cams out, we got the intake and the exhaust side out, and let me show you guys what we're doing real quick. So obviously got the cams out. Thing you'll notice on the intake cam is right here there's a huge hole in the front, and that's where the VCT cam gear goes into. And then you'll notice over here on this one it has 4 notches for some screws, which the cam gears will fit on. And so the aftermarket cam gears don't have this hole to where you can just put a cam gear on there. So that's why you have to get new cams, which, you know, that's why we picked up these Kelford cams here. And I already had a HKS intake gear left over from last year when I had purchased both of them. So you can see, you know, it's supposed to have the 4 bolts in there. So, and then right there, we'll line it up. So while we were doing that, we also discovered that the lifters were stuck. And so one of the things you can do with the lifters, or you're supposed to be able to do with your lifters, is these are supposed to compress when you have hydraulic lifters. And as you can see right there, it's really stuck. So what Nick is doing right now is he's going in and making sure that they are not stuck, pulling them apart and compressing them. So one, we got to pull this piston out. So this right here, this piston out of this bucket
or lifter, and then what you get is 3 parts. You get this 2-part piston with this spring, and the spring sits on top like that, and then this piece goes on top like that, and then you can see that I can compress this. Well, none of these are compressing in here. So what I have to do is pull that apart, get all the, it's kind of like a vacuum lock or whatever, like an air lock, but just there's air that sucked it closed. So what we got to do is pull it apart, get it to release, and then put it back in, which is a challenge in its own because there's a little ring inside of there. I don't know if you can see inside. There's a ring inside of there. This has to fit in that ring and can't sit on top of it. So you'll see that that's perfectly sitting in there like that. And then we got to take that spring, and that spring goes on top of that little ball right there. So it sits on there like that. And then this guy, either half of that piston, it's got to go in there. And when you get it in there lined up perfect, you pop it back in, which can be a challenge.
Yeah, so I think we got to make sure that they're flush, you know, as we're putting them in there. I think that's the challenge, is making sure you put equal weight on there when you get them. And then after we complete that and get those in, then we're going to go ahead and actually bleed all of the lifters. And so got some oil in there. You can see just got that one in there. So
now that that one's back in, I can compress that. You might not be able to see it, but I can compress that. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this oil, and then there's a little bleeder. There's a bleeder valve right here. See that little hole right there? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the oil, and I'm going to push down on that piston. You might be able to see those air bubbles. What that's doing is every time I let go, it's going to pull in oil and push out air. So I'm going to do that until it's nice and lubed and there's no air coming out of there. Which I'm going to have a very sore thumb at the end of this. Because we got 24 of these to do, so I'm hoping I only have to do 12, Shane?
Yeah, we'll split them. When you guys do this too, if you are going to do something like this, if you have lifter noise, that's the main reason that you want to do it. You can kind of tell, right, if your lifters are chattering. But we had the cams apart. It was something I came across, and I'm like, you know what, I just want to check all of them. And when I did, good thing we did, because they were all stuck. And so,
all 24.
Yeah, so they weren't going to work as they should. But make sure you keep the intake side and the exhaust side separate. You don't want to mix those up because the tolerances on the lifters are different. So make sure that you guys keep those together. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and finish out these real quick, and then you guys will just get a nice zoom into when it's done. So let's get into that. All right, guys, so we're about halfway done with this. I got some sore thumbs. It is not very fun. Nick has sore thumbs too. We both have sore thumbs. Just start pushing on this, but looking over here on this one, we have the intake side done over there, so aren't really bubbling anymore, huh? They're pretty much done.
I think
so yeah, so that looks pretty good. So we'll get the intake side finished up, and then we'll be able to put the lifters back in. We'll be able to put the new cams back in, which is the whole point of this. Go from there. But let's just time lapse right into this. Oh, all right. Stage one. Stage one is done. Whatever that means. Dude, look at my hole in my thumb. Oh. Alright, so that sucks. It's not fun, but we did it. And we're going to go ahead and then putting the lifters back in. Alright, exhaust side we just got done doing for the lifters. They're down here. We're going to go ahead and put the intake side in. And Nick's going to give us a little tutorial. So left those in there soaking.
Yeah, so what we did was, once we pulled them apart, you guys saw me pull them apart and explain all the mumbo jumbo about these. So now that they've been sitting for a while, we're going to push on them one last time, make sure we get all of the air out. So sitting, they should have had enough time to bring in some oil, but they might have some air in there still. So like we'll push on them. Yeah, see, like that one still has air in it, so I'm going to push on it until all those bubbles stop. So now those bubbles have stopped, so that one's ready to go. No bubbles means they're ready to go. So we'll let a lot of that oil get off. to bring this and we're going to slide it in. Just like so. And it goes in.
Slides right in. And what should happen too is once these are in here, should be able to push down. And you'd see that now they're going up and down. Whereas before, you guys, that was just stuck. Like, couldn't even just push on it with a dinosaur. I don't know. You couldn't push on it. That's my point.
Push that one.
But yeah, there you go. So now they're moving up and down, which makes me feel a lot better about my life. It makes me feel better too because I'm tired of ripping this thing apart. I ripped it apart probably 7-8 times in the last 3 weeks. But again, you guys, people do not show all of this through YouTube. It's just kind of like quick cut clips. This is how it went. Everything went good. No issues. That doesn't happen. There's always issues with car stuff. That's why it's called car life. We're going to go ahead and put all these ones in and then wait for the exhaust lifters to soak a little bit more. We'll throw those in. And then the big surprise, we get to open up the cams, check those out, put those in. So let's get to that. All right, so all the lifters are in and they're pushable. There you go.
Lifters are lifting.
They're lifting. They're doing what they're supposed to do. We're gonna go ahead and open up this box, get the cams in. So here's the spec sheet. So 272 duration on these cams, both intake and exhaust. As I mentioned before, you guys will see right there, there's like a notch, and then you got the 4 spots for the screw to go into. This one just has the bolt on there, so that's the reason for this. This is unboxing for some Kelford cams.
You gotta do everything on the floor too, you know.
Right. So check out the beautiful cam gear that'll go on so you can see the back of this, how it's gonna fit in there. So cams are half in there. Definitely make sure you put the lubricant on that comes with the cams. You want to put it on all the lobes and then any surfaces that touch absolutely anything. The cam brackets, you want to have it all in there. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to go ahead and also put the cam brackets in the middle of the cams on first and then work our way out. Everything gets torqued at 96 inch-pounds, so we'll go ahead and do that after we do this and then just bolt these all in. Then you're going to want to make sure that these are also 10 to 15 degrees facing left and right when you put them on, just to help with the timing when you're getting ready to set that. All right guys, so it is the next morning. We ended up finishing a little late last night, so we didn't want to fire it up and upset all the neighbors. So it is all completely done, so we're just gonna get right into it, turn it over, see what it sounds like. Hopefully that noise went away initially while we did all this work, but I'm excited to see what the cams are gonna sound like. This thing's gonna be absolutely awesome, so let's do it. You wanna do the honors?
Sure.
All right. For it to get to idle and hear those revs. So once this gets to idle, we might be able to hear the cams once it gets to temperature. So let me know what you guys think of the sound below in the comment section. Yeah, those are all lifters. These things again.
so it just got down to like idle. So let's check this out. Oh, it just sounds super awesome. Super awesome. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed the sound of the new cams on the car. I thought it sounded really good. Comment down below what you guys think. Also make sure to like, share, and subscribe this video, please. Long story short, after investigating more, it did not solve the issue of that noise, so we're going to have to investigate a little further. But till next video, we'll get into more of that. But got the new cams in regardless, and I think it sounds awesome and can't wait to get this thing dynoed. So again, hope you guys enjoy this. Just like that, Shane Show's out. Peace.